So we made some reference earlier about maintain talk, the type of language that we use when we're going to continue the behavior that we have. And we talked about change language, that kind of talk that we engage in and that we use and that we share when we are interested in moving forward. So motivational interviewing obviously has a lot to do with communicating and also facilitating patients and clients using more change language as opposed to maintain language. So that's what motivational interviewing is, a lot of it. As we are communicating with people, we should become also aware of the styles that we have. Now, there are three basic styles. One of the styles would be more of a directing style. And this is one that doctors and people in healthcare are very accustomed to using because we've been sort of authoritarian down through the years. We've been teaching and directing and being sort of forceful in our approach. It's not really working so much like that anymore. And so what we have started to do is to do more following, the following style. So we have gone from the directing style to kind of the following style, and we're kind of going along as the public and as our consumers have become more empowered, and they're saying, well, here's what I want. What we are doing and the way we have adjusted is to really just kind of drop back and do more following. Motivational interviewing is based on, however, the guiding approach, the guiding style. The guiding style has a lot to do with understanding where people want to go, but also offering our technical expertise. Patients benefit from and do appreciate our technical guidance in understanding things like calories, types of molecules, carbohydrates, proteins, fats, and so forth. With that said, we'll be moving into now the tools of motivational interviewing, and we'll take them on one by one. Each of them will have everything to do with leveraging patients' intrinsic strengths for getting where they want to go from where they are. The first tool of motivational interviewing is the use of an open-ended question. Open-ended questions say, I want to know your story. What is it that brought you in today? What is it that concerns you the most? Open-ended questions give patients kind of the open floor, the mic, if you will, to talk about whatever it is that they're most concerned of. So open-ended questions have a lot to do with understanding patients' intrinsic strengths. Reflexive listening involves very carefully listening to patients to see what it is that concerns them and getting the very details of their story. And when we're carefully listening, then sometimes paraphrasing and asking the patient for more clarification. So asking a clarifying question to get the very details. And patients really enjoy when you get the details of what it is that concerns them the most. So while open-ended questions invite the patient to give kind of a freestyle mic to say what it is that concerns them the most, reflexive listening says, I want to hear the details of what concerns you the most. And we do this by asking clarifying questions, and then that gives us clarifications as to what has occurred. Another tool of motivational interviewing, which we can use to access and refer to patients' intrinsic strengths, is the use of an affirmation. Now, we can use affirmations to acknowledge achievements and awards and accomplishments that patients have made. I use them at the very beginning of meeting a person and understanding what has happened. I'm so glad you came in today, and I'm so glad that you're concerned about your health, that you came in and you're asking more questions. When we affirm patients for healthy behavior, it kind of sets the direction for more healthy behavior. So affirmation is a very powerful tool of motivational interviewing. Summarizing statements are used many times during the beginning of an interview or the end of an interview. Now, when we've asked an open-ended question and then we have gotten clarification by asking clarifying questions, and then when we have gotten a sense of patients' details of what concerned them the most, and we have started to get a sense of direction about where we want to go. A summarizing statement helps us to put kind of a, let's say, kind of a thumbtack on the progress that we've made and the direction that we've made, so that we can summarize exactly what we have covered for that meeting. And then when we meet them for a second encounter, we can use a summarizing statement so as to pick up on the accomplishments that we have already made, the achievements that we have made in our work together, and pick up from there. So a summarizing statement is a very powerful tool of motivational interviewing. So those 4 tools are the 4 tools that you'll be using a lot of as you become more effective motivational interviewing. ORAS is a very common acronym that you'll see in motivational interviewing circles. We're going to talk about more tools, but make a note of those 4. Another tool of motivational interviewing that helps patients to realize their intrinsic strength is to request permission. Now, we generally have an idea that patients that are in a healthcare environment expect to be examined and expect to be taken for tests and things of that nature. But I would request permission before doing any of that. When we request permission to, let's say, examine a patient while they're undergoing a 2D echo, or ask questions while they're having an EKG, what we are doing is saying, you're the boss about what happens to your life, you have control, you have the autonomy here, and we need that in order to move forward. So requesting permission is not only good manners, but it's also a very powerful tool of motivational interviewing, because it reminds the patient that you're in control of your health and where it goes. Another tool of motivational interviewing is to elicit change talk. Now, eliciting change talk happens to be also one of my favorite tool of motivational interviewing, because again, it helps patients to think about and imagine the future. The question, do you have any health goals? What are your plans for the next 6 months or 3 months? And what would be your ideal health function? These all help patients to start to talk about and think about, what are my health goals? And it's not that we're necessarily looking for answers to these questions when we elicit change talk. What we are doing is starting a conversation about what is possible from a health perspective. It's a conversation the patient will go on to continue and ask themselves in their own private moments and talk about their health goals with their family. And when they're doing this, what they're engaging is change thought and change talk, if you will. So eliciting change talk is a very powerful tool of motivational interviewing that starts many times the discussion of just how far can I go. Another powerful tool of motivational interviewing is to explore importance and confidence. Now, many times we're not aware of it, but when we are asking patients their interest in moving forward and there are some resistance, the resistance is sometimes there because they don't see the importance, or they may have tried in the past to make certain attempts to move forward, and those attempts didn't work out the way they wanted to, and so they don't have the confidence to move forward. So it's helpful to understand where a patient is in terms of how they see their strength based on their own experiences by asking, let's say, on a scale of 1 to 10, how important do you think it is to, let's say, achieve your best body weight or to lose weight? On a scale of 1 to 10, moving forward with regard to tobacco cessation, how confident are you that you'll be able to make the changes and ultimately become tobacco free? Explore importance and confidence, a very important tool of motivational interviewing. Another tool of motivational interviewing is the ready to change ruler. Now, a ready to change ruler gives us an opportunity to have this discussion, a discussion with patients to understand their readiness without making any judgments about their readiness whatsoever. And so we can ask patients to use a scale of 1 to 10. How ready are you to move forward with regard, let's say, getting complete control of your blood glucose levels on a scale of 1 to 10? How ready are you to make some changes? And in this way, patients can actually think about and give, let's say, a numerical order, something objective that we can later on refer to and that they can later on refer to during future visits. So the ready to change ruler is a very powerful tool of motivational interviewing that helps us to engage with patients without them making judgments about where they are and without them feeling any judgment from us. Ready to change ruler. Decisional balancing is another very powerful tool of motivational interviewing. It gives us an opportunity to talk about behaviors, again, without making any judgments about behavior or performance. We might ask, let's say we have somebody who enjoys tobacco. We can ask them, what is it that they enjoy about tobacco? Give us some of the things that they really enjoy. And then it gives them a chance to even say to us what they like, what they get out of it, and how they use it, without them feeling any sense of condemnation from us. And then we can then ask in a very balanced manner, what is it that they're concerned about with tobacco exposure? And so it gives us a chance to hear them voice how they balance their concerns as well as some of the benefits. And when they start to have these conversations within themselves, then it helps them to overcome their own ambivalence and move in the direction that they'd like to. So decisional balancing is a very powerful tool of motivational interviewing that helps us to help the patient engage in a discussion that they'll have themselves in moving forward. Decisional balancing. Another very powerful tool of motivational interviewing is normalizing. Now, we've said that making changes can be very difficult, and sometimes during our most challenging moments, we can feel that we're alone and isolated in our attempts at making change, and it becomes helpful and therapeutic to know that other people that are moving forward and trying to make changes also find it difficult. So a normalizing statement, a statement that says, I know this is difficult, but most of the people struggle when they're trying to make the changes that they're trying to make. It can be very helpful so that while a person is trying to access their intrinsic strength to do well, what we're doing with a normalizing statement is helping a patient to not only access theirs, but the strength of many others that are dealing with the same challenges. And that helps to stabilize exactly where the patient is so that they can think further and then begin to move when they, let's say, have a better day or even a better moment. A normalizing statement is very powerful. Another tool of motivational interviewing that I really enjoy using is a statement supporting self-efficacy. Now, I usually use this particular tool when patients have engaged in healthy behavior. Let's say a patient has been recording their blood pressure and they've been keeping a nice record, and then they bring that record in. This is healthy behavior. Or they have a chart that they've brought you recording their weights over the past several months or their blood glucose levels. This is all healthy behavior, and we need that kind of objective information to move forward. And so a statement that says, wow, I see how interested you are. You're obviously going to move forward now. This is just wonderful, this activity that you have engaged in. Let's keep it up, because if we keep it up, you're obviously going to be reaching your goals. So a statement supporting self-efficacy is very powerful in helping patients and our clients to realize that we are acknowledging their healthy behavior, and it helps them to stay on a road that is getting them where they want to go. A statement supporting self-efficacy is a very powerful tool of motivational interviewing. Another powerful tool of motivational interviewing, albeit a little bit challenging, is something called the Colombo Approach. Now, the Colombo Approach has to do with helping patients to, let's say, see something discrepant in where they want to go and their performance that they've been making in the past. Helping patients to see the discrepancy between what they're doing and where they want to go, and just putting it there sometimes is just enough to help a patient to describe the challenges that they're having, and it gives an opportunity for us to be able to talk through some of the challenges that they're having and move forward. Such an example might be, I remember when we met, You mentioned that over the summer you'd like to be able to take your grandchildren to Disney World and walk throughout the park. Um, do you feel like you'll be in the shape to be able to do that? So this would be called the Colombo Approach because it puts the discrepancy between where we said that we'd like to be and then what we're doing right now to get where we want to go. And it gives us, let's say, the patient. If I'm a patient and if I have that discrepancy, it gives me an opportunity to say, well, I would like to make some changes, and I'm going to, and I better start soon because I want this for myself. It's my own desire. It's my own intrinsic strength, this desire to take my grandchildren to Disney World. And so I'm going to get started this weekend. It gives me a chance to work out the kinks. The Colombo Approach. The Therapeutic Paradox is a very powerful tool of motivational interviewing that can be challenging. So it might not be one that you feel comfortable using during your first year or your first set of experiences with motivational interviewing. The Therapeutic Paradox is where you actually make a statement that sounds as though you're not promoting healthy behavior. You might say, well, maybe this is not a good time to achieve the best health that you wanted or achieve the healthy weight that you wanted because it seems that you've been having some challenges. And then it gives the patient, our client, the opportunity to begin to have some change talk and say, well, no, it is a good time and I need to do this and I want to do this and I want to do this for the following reasons. So the therapeutic paradox is kind of tricky because if it's done with too sharp an angle, it can sound a little bit condescending and sarcastic. But if it has a slighter angle, then it can be just enough to start change talk and change behavior. The therapeutic paradox is a very powerful tool when used properly, motivational interviewing. Congratulations! You have completed part 3 of motivational interviewing for healthcare professionals.